Now we are ready to start populating our body elements, and we're going to start with the navigation bar. Okay, so we're going to create this navigation bar exactly the same way we have learned in the Bootstrap chapter. So we are going to use the nav tag to create our navigation bar. Okay, and we're going to give it a role of navigation. This is for screen readers mainly. Okay, and also it needs a class of navbar. To style it, we can either give it a navbar default class, and it's going to give us a gray color. Okay, otherwise we can go for navbar inverse for a black color. Okay, and then we're going to add more CSS styling later on. So inside the navbar, we are gonna need to place everything inside a container, okay, or container fluid. I'm gonna go for a container fluid for a full width. Okay, and then inside the container or container fluid, we're gonna have a couple of elements. So the first element is the navbar header, which consists of the brand and the toggle button. Okay, and the second element is the navbar collapse, which consists of the collapsible content. Okay, so let's start with the navbar header, which is a div of class navbar header. Okay, and then the next one is the navbar collapse. And it needs a couple of classes, navbar collapse and collapse. And this one we're going to give it an ID because we're going to need to link it to the toggle button. So I'm going to give it an ID navbar collapse. Okay, so inside the header we're going to have our navbar brand first. Okay, and that's going to be a link. Okay, so we're going to create a link, and then inside the link we're going to place a picture. So we need to give the link a class of navbar brand. Okay, you can give it an href if you want, and then we're going to place the image inside the link. Okay, and we're going to need to give it a source. And we're going to go for a crown like this. So we're going to use our logomaker.com website. Okay, so I'm going to look for crown. And I'm going to go for this one. Okay, so we're going to pick up this color using the color picker. Okay, and let's copy that, click enter and save. Okay, just make sure you copy the credits using this button and place them somewhere on your website or on another page, and you give the link to that page. Okay, so now we're gonna get the image from our desktop. Let's change the name to web logo, and let's open our images folder. Okay, we don't need this one anymore, and let's drag our image there. Okay, so the source is going to be images, and then web logo .png. Okay, we're gonna need to style this image using a class, okay, that we're gonna name logo. So if we go to our CSS file, we've got here style brand, okay. So you're gonna access the class logo, okay, and let's give it a height of 30 pixels. Okay, that looks okay. Now let's move to the toggle button. So we're going to use the button tag. Okay, we're going to give it a type of button, okay, for assistive technologies, and we need to give it a class of navbar toggle. Okay, this is important. And we're going to link it to the collapsible content, okay, using a data target attribute, okay, which will be set to the ID of the collapsible content. Okay, and also we need a data toggle attribute, which we'll set to collapse. Okay, so basically we are collapsing the element of ID navbar collapse. Okay. Okay. So now we need to create these bars inside the button. Okay. So you're gonna do that using span elements. And it's going to be inside the button. So each span is going to have a class of icon bar. Okay, you can see the first one there. Let's duplicate this. Now we've got another one and another one. Okay, and we're going to add one span at the beginning. Okay, for assistive technologies. And place some text there, toggle navigation, for example. Okay, and we're going to hide it using the SR only class. Okay, and basically this is for assistive technologies mainly. Okay, so now we're done with the header parts, and now we're going to move to the collapsible parts. So you're going to place a list in there. Okay, it's going to be an unordered list. So we need to give it a class of navbar nav. Okay, and let's place a few list items there. So inside each list item, we're going to place a link. Okay, so I'm going to place an href there. Okay, you can give it an href if you want. So we're going to have 4 list items. So let's duplicate this. So in the first one, we're going to place some text, home. Second one, about, then portfolio, and then contact. Okay. So now our navigation bar is working properly. Okay. Now we're going to add some styling using CSS to our navigation bar. So let's go to the CSS file. Okay, I'm going to go there. First, we want a transparent background, just like that. Okay. So we'll access the navigation bar using one of the classes. So we're going to access it using navbar inverse, for example. Okay. Well, we'll need to access it using the navbar inverse because that's what's dictating this background color at the moment, which is black. So we'll set the color of the navbar inverse class to, or the background, to a black color with a transparency of 0.5. Okay, we're going to use the RGBA function. So for the black color, the first three parameters are going to be 0, 0, 0, and then the last parameter for the transparency, we're going to give it 0.5. Okay, and now we can see this nice transparent background. Okay, now we're going to move to the list items. Okay, so to access the list items, we're going to access the nav class, and then inside the class, we're going to access the list items. Okay, so first of all, we are going to set the color of the list items to a white color. Okay, and it's going to look more or less gray, okay, due to the background. Okay, so we're going to also change the font size. I'm going to make it slightly bigger. I'm going to go for 17 pixels. That looks good. And also, we're going to add some margin, okay, between the list items. And we're going to go for margin right, okay. So, because we don't want any margin left, okay. So, margin right. And we're going to go for 35 pixels. Now you can see, okay, we've got margin there between the list items. And finally, we're going to add some padding at the top and bottom, okay, inside each list item. Okay, so we're going to go for 10 pixels at the top and bottom. And we don't want any padding on the left-hand side and right-hand side. So that's going to be 0. Okay, so we're using two values there, one for the top and bottom and one for the left and right sides. Okay, let's have a look. And now it looks good. Let's make the font size slightly bigger. Okay, let's go for 19 pixels. The font family we have used here is one of the Google fonts, and to be able to use it, we need to link our index.html file to the Google Fonts website. So what we're going to do, we're going to go to Google and type Google Fonts. Okay. And I'm going to go to the first link. So we're going to look for Arvo. Okay, so then we can click on Quick Use, and we'll need to add this code to our website. Okay, so if we copy that and paste it inside our index.html file. Okay, right there. Okay, now the font should be working. Okay, let's save and refresh. Okay, and now we can see that our font is working. Okay, now let's just reduce the font size a little bit to 17. And that looks the same as our final website. Okay. Now we're going to style the list items when we hover on them. Okay. So we're gonna add a border bottom. Okay. And also the cursor becomes a pointer. So first we're going to access the list items by going to the nav class, and then inside the class we're accessing the list items, and then colon hover with no space between the colon and text. So we're gonna start with the border at bottom. So you're going to go for 1 pixel for the width, a style of solid, and for the color, we're going to use the same color as the brand. Okay. Okay. Now you can notice that there is a slight change to the height of the navigation bar once we hover on the elements. And the reason why is because the border bottom is 1 pixel wide. So when we hover on the elements, the total height of the elements increases by 1 pixel. Okay, and consequently, our navigation bar will also increase the height by 1 pixel. So to fix this, we are going to reduce the padding bottom of the list items by 1 pixel. Okay, so the original padding bottom was 10 pixel. Okay, because the padding top and bottom, they are both 10 pixel. And now we're going to set the bottom one to 9 pixel or 9 pixels. So now the height of the navigation bar doesn't change. Okay, and finally we're going to change the cursor to pointer, and we can see that.